This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Catch the Minnesota Wild take on Dallas this Sunday with the Unreal Golf Ticket Pack. Score your exclusive ticket package, including a ticket to the game, an exclusive Unreal and Wild co-branded hat, and meet and greet with the one and only Shooter McGavin himself, Christopher McDonald. Don't miss out. Get all the details and secure your tickets now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
That sounds like a heck of a concert. I might want to show up with some friends.
Indeed. It's a couple 13-14 past. Hour number one in the books. Time now for 5, 3, 4.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
Crack out a home run, shot a hit, hooray! Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today.
Twins are now 0-4 to start the season after a 9-0 loss to the White Sox yesterday in Chicago. The Twins didn't record a hit in 6 innings against Martin Perez. Chris Paddock lasted just 3 1/3 innings, giving up 9 earned runs. Over 4 games, the Twins have been outscored 28-6. My question for you, Common, what concerns you more moving forward? The Twins pitching or their offense?
Well, men need some time to think that over. Well, Lavelle promised me they will swing the sticks.
Yes.
So I'm not concerned about that. So let's set that aside. Lavelle texted me. He wrote it in a column, and he also said they will swing the sticks, even though they were no hit through like 6 innings yesterday by a pitcher that there must have been the revenge mode of the Perez character. I don't remember him pitching for the Twins, but apparently he did. He was here for a cup of coffee.
Who?
I don't know if it was a grande or what are the different sizes in you have grande and then you have.
I'm not the guy to ask on those.
I can't remember what. Anyway, so he was here.
I just know cappuccino, mocha.
He was here for a grande
latte,
and he basically had him no hit for 6 innings. They didn't put him back. He had thrown 93 pitches, and I know the idea on a no hitter is you say, well, yeah, but you got to give the guy a chance to get a no hitter, right? But it is Perez. He's 93 pitches, and the chances of him getting through the rest of it probably weren't very good. But with the Twins as bad as they were swinging, maybe he could have got a no hitter. But I did think going to look at. I said I thought the Twins could compete for a division title here. I don't think they're as bad as the record would indicate. And I know the record's a record. Whatever your record is who you are. But because it is a long season, it's 4 games at 162. I just don't think they're going 0-162. I'll say that. And I don't think any of the other teams in the division are that great either. They all seem to be pretty even Steven other than the White Sox, though who knows, maybe that'll change. They sure took it to us yesterday. But KC, Detroit, Cleveland, and Minnesota. But what I like most about me, we talked about the only way the offense can really contribute is if their 3 best hitters stay healthy and hit. Well, Correa and Buxton have been healthy, but they haven't hit at all. They're terrible at the plate to this point. And then Royce Lewis, of course, is injured. So you miss those 3, you're probably not going to score a lot of runs. But the pitching was supposed to be, I think, sort of the strength. I did like their first 3 guys. You like Lopez, Joe Ryan, and Ober. And Ober, again, had troubles last year in the opener, and he ended up having a really nice season. And then, Paddock, I was sold a bill of goods on him. Now, again, 1 start. But it doesn't look like Paddock's got a lot to offer. And who's our 5th starter? The Woods Richardson.
Simeon Woods Richardson.
Is he going today? And so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, pitching would be my biggest concern because I know that we're really high on the David Festa guy. And then who's the other guy we sent down to the minors? Festa and whatchamacallit. And they were both supposed to be, Matthews. No,
Zebby?
Yeah, Zebby. Is that his name? Zebby Matthews?
Yeah.
And then who was the other guy I'm thinking of? There's another guy that they sent down that was pretty good last year. Had his moments with the club that they both look like they have potential to be big league pitchers and maybe successful ones. So maybe we'll end up going down to the minors. I mean, again, you got to get a few times through the rotation before you make any grand conclusions. But pitching would certainly be the biggest concern right now, I believe.
Question number 2.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
Rallied twice to salvage a point last night in New Jersey, including this one from Matt Boldy late.
Brodin sends it in from center. Gustafson still in his blue paint. 2:10 to go. A bouncing puck came out in front. The Wild with a chance here. Turning to his back in. He scores! Boldy! Boldy deep past Markstrom. Got to a favorable bounce. And with 2:08 to go, it's 2-2.
Yeah, Boldy with the goal. That secures a point for the Wild. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the 2 points because they fell 3-2 in a shootout to the Devils. Wild are now 1 point ahead of St. Louis for the top wild card spot. They are 6 points ahead of ninth place Calgary, who rallied from a 2-0 deficit to win 3-2 in a shootout last night in Colorado. And the Flames, by the way, have 2 games in hand on the Wild. Common, what is your confidence level in the Wild making the playoffs?
They're in the top spot of the wild card right now?
By a point. St. Louis has won 9 in a row. So.
And then how many are they from falling out of playoff contention?
They are 6 points up on Calgary, but the Flames have 2 games in hand. Ooh. So technically, if they're to win both those, that's 6 point lead becomes a 2 point lead. So it's gonna be a little dicey. And they still and Vancouver 7 points back. They play both Calgary and Vancouver like 2 of the last 3 games of the season. So it could get really dicey there at the end.
We still don't know when Kaprizov's coming back. Last I read, I think Russo, we talked about it yesterday. They thought they wouldn't. Both he and Eck went on the trip, right, out east. It doesn't appear that either will play on the East Coast trip, but that they will both come back. At least that's what was reported, right? They will both, more than likely. The hope is that they will play regular season games before it's over. Let's say they play the last 5 games. Then to me, those last 5 games mean everything. And can they pick up right away? I mean, I know there's rust and all this, but they've been playing hockey their entire lives since they were little kids. I know it's going to take a little bit of time to get back to game shape, but I guess you got to hope they can do it quickly. And if they're at full strength, I think they can squeeze out a playoff spot. If they don't come back in time, I don't know. I kind of have my doubts a little bit.
I think Kaprizov is supposed to meet with his doctor in New York today.
Okay.
So I guess it's possible if a Russo or some sort of type like that can get some info later tonight.
We'll know more probably later tonight. You're right.
Maybe.
Question number 3. And now it's time to go in the trenches.
The NFL's 32 teams voted on rule proposals today. They have tabled the tush-push ban, so they will debate that. That will likely to continue to debate that in May. They did pass a rule change that will spot the ball on the 35-yard line after kickoffs into the end zone. They also passed a rule guaranteeing each team a possession in overtime during the regular season. They also approved a proposal to expand the use of replay assist, adding fouls for hits on a defensive player, grabbing the face mask, performing a horse collar tackle, tripping, and running into or roughing the kicker to be covered by the process. The Lions' proposal to eliminate an automatic first down for the defensive holding and illegal contact did not pass. And also the Lions' proposal to reseed the playoffs was tabled. Common, do you like all of these rule changes made today in the National Football League?
The first one that the Lions had that was not passed, they were the most penalized team for that infraction.
Yes, and it wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't even close. No wonder they didn't want that. I think the other teams are on them on that. Even if they thought it was a good idea, they go, no, we're not going to.
They shouldn't be the team proposing that one.
We're not going to let you pull that one on off us. I like the the last one that they tabled,
reseeding the playoffs.
Yeah, seeding. Is reseeding the playoffs different from a team being 14-3 and get that home field?
I think that would have benefited the Vikings this year.
Right. Is that what we're talking about, the reseed? Okay.
Instead of going
for
division winners get the first 4.
Okay. Right. I still like the division winners.
I agree.
Yeah,
Make the division be important.
Right. Otherwise, it really isn't that important, right? It doesn't really matter. You could lose. You could lose all division games and win all the other ways and go 11-6. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. All I know is I like when the division means something. That's what I think. So I don't like that one. The tush push. I understand why people don't like it. I guess I am. The one thing I don't like is because a team is really good at it, then all the other teams, that's part of the reason I think they don't like it. But it doesn't really seem like a football play. It seems a little...
It's like rugby.
It is a little bit like rugby, and it's... I don't know. Moving the ball to I think most people would like to see kick returns more frequently.
There should be more kickoff returns now.
Yeah. And this should do it. I've said this to you, and I said it last week while you were away because we discussed this. If I'm the kicking off team, I would never kick it into the end zone. I want them to return. Now, the numbers were against me. Apparently, there were 7 kickoff returns for touchdowns last year, and only, I think, a couple of fumbles, like 2 fumbles. I still would rather try to pin the team. I think you still have a better chance of pinning them inside the 30 than you had giving them the ball at the 30. But, I don't mind this because I would like to see more kickoffs. So there you go.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually, 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Flop, Sweat, and Tears Tour tickets to give away. The show is sold out. It's this Friday at Styx Tavern at the Dog Green Golf Course in Chaska. But we still have tickets to give away, so you can be a part of the side-splitting humor and knee-slapping laughter. We'll do that before the show's over. More controversial Vikings news on the other side of the break. Common Man program on the Fan.
Join Meat Sauce and Nordo for a live broadcast of Saturdays with Sauce at the Twin Cities Auto Show on Saturday, April 19th. Drop by the iHeart Zone from noon to 2 p.m. to catch the show, meet the guys, and to snag your KFAN gear. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Drawback for eating lunch on the air is, here's what I'm told, physiologically, your body, when you eat food, the blood rushes to your stomach and you become lightheaded and tired. And I'm getting very sleepy. I could use a nap right now. No! Which is probably what the audience does every day about now. Pace of the program is about to say the pace of the program has been a breakneck speed, I think, and it's about to slow down a little bit as I spend some time digesting my food. I wanted to get back to the Danny Hurley thing. Were you here when we talked about Danny Hurley? And
I don't believe so.
I really think he's got some long-term he's got some psychological issues, and I think even with long-term psychiatric care, there's not much hope for him. We talked about him during the Maui tournament. I just happened to stumble across it. Now, this would have been back in November when the basketball season first started. He'd won back-to-back NCAA tournaments with
UConn.
With UConn, and he was trying to win a third. They were trying to three-peat here, and they got eliminated in the tournament. But he was all over the officials in the Hawaii tournament, to the point where it was embarrassing, stomping up and down, screaming, blood, you could see the blood veins in his forehead. He calmed down, dude. It's just basketball. And then he basically said, we're not going to ever come over here again because the odds are stacked. He had all sorts of things making excuses, right? And then I don't know if you saw what happened in the NCAA tournament. They were ousted by was it Flo Rida? I think they lost to Flo Rida. In the round of 32. And So he was ranting and raving during that game like he does every game. Then immediately following the game, he
lost to Florida.
Yeah. So he's ranting and raving during that game, thinks he's getting job. That's the one thing every basketball coach feels like they're getting jobbed by the officials. We never get calls. They always go against us. Why do the referees not see it the way I do? Probably because they don't have a vested interest in it like you do. That's probably the biggest reason. And then immediately following the game, he's sobbing. After the game on the court, then he's sobbing in the news conference. These kids mean so much to me, that whole thing. So he's either ranting and raving or he's sobbing. And it's like, dude, get control of your emotions here. You're a grown man, right? Then what added some fuel to the fire was, and I think this didn't come out till like the next day, some media rube was in the tunnel area.
Yes.
He took the video. And after all this sobbing on the court, now he's back to ranting and raving. And he's yelling at the Baylor team. Hope you don't get bleeped by the officials like we just did. Hope you don't get bleeped. And then I think it was like an assistant to the aide, some guy involved with the team, I think threatened the other guy, the media guy, because they didn't, the lasting impression everybody should have saw was Danny Hurley sobbing on the sideline for his kids. Well, that's what you want him to see. That's not
the journalist's job.
Right. Yeah. That's the image you want portrayed about Danny Hurley. But, he's just an emotional guy and he cares so much about the kids. He forgot about that and started ranting and raving. They talked to it. Hurley then finally, he addressed the situation, and he said he expressed regret. He goes, I wished I didn't do it, talking about the profane comments he made after the loss. Here's what he told the Hartford Courant. He said, and other media outlets as well, he said, those are three great officials on that game. I'm sorry, hold on. Those are three great officials on that game. So although I said something in the heat of the moment in an area of the arena that is pretty much every game I've ever coached in college has been media free. So he's apologizing, but he's really not.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, well, I didn't think the cameras were running then. I didn't think there was any audio going on. So I'm really not sorry. I don't think they're great, but because you busted me and it wasn't my fault, because media's not supposed to be there. He goes past the tunnel, by the locker rooms in the hallway where the coaches go, that's for the combatants. That's for the competitors. That's not for camera phones. Just relative to that, those were three great refs and Florida earned it. I mean, have you ever heard anything more absurd in your entire life? He's basically apologizing, but saying, well, it's only because I got my hand caught in the cookie jar.
Yep.
If I would have not done any apologizing at all for what I said about the refs, except I got caught on audio and video saying something bad by them. Then he goes, if I don't go off the rails at the end there after that 3-year run, now he has to start verbally slapping himself on the back. If I don't go off the rails at the end there after that 3-year run ended in excruciating fashion, if I don't have that emotional outburst there, probably all people are talking about is a run we've had, the amazing players. Yeah, probably. That's probably what they're doing, but you couldn't help yourself. And that's why I'm suggesting, and it's because I care. I care. I really care. I think you should seek psychiatric care. Then, Queen City News' Joe Ellis posted the video. Charlotte Sports Live reported that UConn Sports Information Director Bobby Mullen asked Ellis to remove the video and then made a threatening comment to him. Ellis later apologized on social media that Mullen apologized to him. Or Ellis later said on social media that Mullen apologized to him. He said, Bobby regrets just like I regret the moments I've had. Obviously, it's all my fault that Bobby got pulled into it, Hurley told reporters. I set the whole thing in motion and I feel horrible. Obviously, he could have handled dealing with the media person with the phone that took the video differently. He could have obviously let it go. He should have been better trained for a situation like this. We've all been in them all year. So now he's kind of blaming the guy, though. He should be better trained. He should have been able to know. He should have realized the situation and not said anything. But Bobby's a soldier. We all fight like that for each other in our program, and sometimes we go a little too far. But Bobby's a great guy. Then it gets worse. Here's what Hurley says next. This is what UConn knew they were getting. This is how I've coached, obviously, my entire career. And I'm not bragging about that. I'm just surprised that people just discovered that if they're college basketball experts, it's one of those things where they're mistakes. There are things I wish I didn't do. It's part of what you get with me. I hope to not do it again. I'm going to attempt to take measures both internally and mentally and externally. I wouldn't change one aspect of how I coach a game or how hard we fight, but I'd like to get on and off the court without incident. You know what you got when you got me. You know I'm boorish. You know I'm maniacal. You know I'm out of control. You know that my behavior is uncalled for. And I'm not going to change that except when I leave the court. So in other words, he's going to continue to rant and rave at officials until his head's about to explode. He's just hoping when he leaves the court, he doesn't show as much emotion, which good luck with that.
I bet that won't change.
Yeah. And so it's like,
I also like the blaming of the journalist in the tunnel, as if the tunnel is a media-free zone. Like, this isn't the first time a player or a coach has been caught on video in the tunnel. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Every time you're watching a broadcast, they show them walking in the tunnel after the game.
Correct. But he's basically saying it never that's supposed to be a media-free area. I don't think there's anything in the rules. Maybe there is something that in the media bylaws and NCAA basketball says media not allowed in the tunnel. I don't believe that.
Their locker room's about the the media-free zone you're going to get.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I believe that. He's become unhinged, and he's not the only basketball coach to feel that way. Or to behave that way and act that way. They all seem to do it, but some are just a lot better than others. I've watched it personally during Pete's basketball career, where it be in-house, travel basketball, freshman basketball, high school basketball, coaches ranting and raving and screaming and it doesn't seem like, I guess in hockey you don't see it much because, the coach is kind of, there's not really much area he can go, right? He's in the back row of the bench, right?
Yeah.
Managers occasionally will melt down. They'll run out of it, and then it's like, well, I got to put on a show, so I'll kick dirt on the umpire. But you don't see that often. Football coaches get a little crazy on the sidelines too, but it's nothing.
Some of them run the length of the field once the quarter's over. I really love rowing the boat. This is going to be the year, especially with our new basketball coach. Everything's going well at the University of Minnesota Athletics.
You are correct. We'll pause, come back with a little Distat Lat here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Ready for a night of high-octane country rock. Brantley Gilbert is bringing his electrifying show to the Ledge Amphitheater on Friday, May 9th. Don't miss out on the action. Get all the full details and your tickets now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. The legendary Mark Rosen waiting in the wings. He will join us just before 2 o'clock. Got a couple 13-14 things I'd like to discuss with him. Common, he's Tennessee. I started thinking, there's probably a couple of different categories you could use for the following question. There would be two. It'd be like, who do you think is the most hated or reviled athlete by Minnesota sports fans on an opposition team? And then who do you think is the most reviled and hated athlete that was a local guy that most fans do not like? So in other words, I would think,
was on our team locally?
Yeah, that was on our team locally.
Currently
or either or. The first question, just about opposition, I would say Aaron Rodgers is near the top of that list,
up there.
right? Then there'd be Aaron Rodgers.
If we want to go in the past, Alex Rodriguez was one of those guys back in the day.
Alex Rodriguez.
Which is ironic he's now
Yep.
maybe our owner. I don't know.
How about players that played locally that fans do not like? I
mean, it's your Kirk Cousins and your Jimmy Butlers.
And Jimmy Butler's the one I want to talk about.
I think Karl Anthony Towns had a lot of it until maybe his last season.
Yep. I think you're right. I think Butler, I don't know if Towns was hated, because I think fans actually hated Jimmy Butler because of what they thought he did to the team, that he was a cancer, that, he was annoyed that he didn't get a max contract and Andy Wiggins did. And I can understand why Butler, and Wiggins is a nice player. I'm not suggesting he's not, but, and then Jimmy Butler didn't think he was getting the effort from his teammates as he did. And we all know what happened in the practice when he took the scrubs and beat down on Towns and the others. But Jimmy Butler went to Miami, played very well there took an 8 seed with Miami and got to the, did they get to the NBA Finals or was it the conference finals? And they were an 8 seed.
They're 8 seed, yeah. They got to the NBA Finals,
I think it was the NBA Finals, and they did lose there. This is a story from a week and a half ago or so. I tucked it away for a rainy day. Is it rainy? No, we'll use it anyways. Jimmy Butler's presence on the court and in the locker room has sparked the Warriors' resurgence. Nobody around the Warriors will argue that Butler has been a connector, just because there was some kind of a bit between Connect 4. They were playing in the locker room with Buddy Hield, and he joked with Buddy Hield that he can't spell connect, even though Hield described Butler as a connector. And then it says, yet nobody around the Warriors will argue that Butler has been just that since he joined Golden State last month in a trade from Miami and helped turn things around from the very moment he showed up and pulled on his new uniform. Denver Nuggets coach Michael Malone, who we referred to earlier in the show, when he had the soundbite where he said his scouts tell him the Wolves, many games they don't try very hard, but they always do against Denver. And then he said, and conversely, my team will play really hard against other teams, and we apparently don't do that when we play the Wolves. Basically confirming my suspicions or my opinions that many teams in the NBA take nights off. Mike Malone, even though his team beat Golden State, he said he stabilized things. He stabilized everything immediately. Butler says, all the value just lies with winning as a whole. I'm glad that I have the opportunity to be a part of the winning that we're doing here. We're just playing some incredible basketball, playing together on both sides of the floor, and it's really fun. Steph Curry admires Butler's consistency. He says, none of us are going to get off on regular season accomplishments. We have to perform and put ourselves in playoff position to be a team that nobody wants to face and be a tough out no matter who the matchup is. We're building toward that. It's pretty clear as day the difference in not just the record, but how we're playing, how we're winning, and his impact on the game. Curry goes on to say he admires Butler for being super consistent, a professional. There's been a lot of eyeballs on him all season, pre-trade, post-trade, and all that. But I love the way he's approached everything. And that's why. Oh, and then Steve Kerr. May as well let the coach talk about it. He says, Butler makes everyone better. Great basketball player. He does everything well. He sees the game. He's strong, loves to pass. The game just flows when he's out there, and he feels it. Whatever the game calls for, Jimmy brings, and he's the main reason that things have turned for us. He's one of the best players in the league, and he makes everybody else around him better. Guard Moses Moody said he affects winning, and winning affects everything else. When we're playing good, it's a lot easier to be cool off the court. He is who he is. He has a big presence. He's authentic to himself, so he does do the candles, music, however he's feeling, whatever it is. He definitely has a presence in the locker room. He's a real dude, and real dudes are contagious. Back to Malone. I think since day one, when Jimmy arrived in the Bay, he's been playoff Jimmy. When you go to a new team and new surroundings, a new culture, he's come in from day one, I think, just been Jimmy Butler in the best version of Jimmy Butler. And I know I have a I have an admiration for Jimmy Butler. I understand. Look, it doesn't. It's the phrase I'm looking for. I can't think of what it is, but it doesn't. It's not that I don't notice. It's not that it escapes me that Butler can be. He can be a gadfly. Maybe that's why I like him so much, because back in 1998, the City Pages named me Gadfly of the Year. If you look up the word gadfly, there's a picture of me and Jimmy Butler, and there's also the definition persistently annoying. And Jimmy can be that way, right? But I think a lot of it has to do with he wants to win, and he wants to win now. And I think that's what a lot of it has to do with. And when you hear these, everywhere he has been, I guess with the exception of Minnesota, I guess we didn't like that approach. We didn't like the way Jimmy approached playing basketball. Everywhere else has been, people love it. And now they ran out of patience in Miami. Pat Riley ran out of patience. And that team wasn't going anywhere anyway. And I don't think that's why another reason Butler didn't want to be there anymore. And you could say, well, that's selfish and self-serving, but that's the NBA. See it all the time. What do players do when they can't win a title somewhere? Hey, I'm going to go team up with my buddies. What did Kevin Durant do? Couldn't win one in Oklahoma City, so he joined forces with the Splash Brothers in Draymond and Iguodala and won one in Golden State. I don't blame him.
LeBron took his talents to South Beach.
That's exactly what he did there. So it happens all the time. So it's not like Butler's the first to basically force him way out of a situation, which is what he did. And now he's got an opportunity. Now, is Golden State going to win the whole thing? I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty, they always say you got to have three guys. And if you got four, that's better. But if you got to have three guys, and they got three guys right now. Draymond still is a great defensive player. He's another guy that can cause all sorts of issues. I think for me, the only thing I would have been concerned about would be how would Draymond get along with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
They're both very caustic. But it seems like all's well. Well, it hasn't ended yet, but all's well that ends well. We'll see how that goes. The other team we got to start watching. Have you seen the Clippers? Ever since Kawhi got back, is Kawhi's playing again? I think they've won like 7 of the last 8, 8 of the last 9, 9 of the last 10, or something like that. The Clippers, and I read a story today, and it's one of those. It's one of those cliches the media likes to use when a team is on a roll. The team nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to play the Clippers. Well, I'm not so sure I believe that, but the Clippers are playing at a pretty high level. Like I say, can you see what their last in the standings? They always have that last 10 games. How they played in their last 10.
8-2.
8-2 is a pretty good record. So the West is thick. I mean, there's a lot of good basketball teams there, including, and again, we had the comeback against KOC. That was where Rosen got real cocky, and most Wolves fans did. That was the game everybody was waiting for, at least how it ended up. They started out, they were just awful. They had a very slow start, getting bludgeoned by Oklahoma City, and that was that comeback when they were down, was it like 23 or 24 with like 8 or 9 minutes to go? And they roared back, and I think they ended up beating I think it went to overtime, and they beat KOC in overtime. And that's when Rosen came in, puffing out his chest with pride, and said, there isn't a team in the league the Wolves should be afraid of. And a lot of other people felt that way, not just Mark, but a lot of other. And I wanted to pump the brakes a little bit, but it was impressive. I mean, because Oklahoma City's no pushover. And I don't think they just rolled over and played dead. I don't think they just went, this is just overwhelming for us. We've never seen anything like this. No one's pushed us like this. No one's pushed back on us when we have a big lead. I think we're just going to curl up in the fetal position. The Wolves went out and they grabbed that game by the neck and they strangled it and they won. And it was really good. And that was another time we were kind of hoping that maybe this would be that wake-up call where they would start the game with a concerted effort, a real purpose, a team that's, you speaking of connected and Connect Four, you hear Finch use that a lot. We were connected out on the court, and the Wolves aren't always connected. It seems like, And I think part of that is a little bit on Ant. I think Ant, there was a 2-game stretch earlier that we've referred to on a couple of different occasions. It really stands out in my mind. And I wonder if it will play into postseason play at all. But he had the game where he had like 5 points or 7 points. And he complained about the double teams. I can't shoot. Can't get the ball. Can't shoot. I'm young. I want to shoot. I want to score. But I can't. Then the very next game, he went off for like 45. The very next game.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the next night or if there was a day in between, but the next game he went off for 45. And that's what with Ant, you don't always know what you're going to get, I think. I know he was back to attacking the basket again, but, then I think he's gotten away from that. And his biggest issue, what they tell me, is when it comes to in the clutch at crunch time, right?
Yes.
That he hasn't. There have been a number of occasions over the past few weeks where he has had the opportunity. He's had the ball in his hands with scant seconds remaining in the game with a chance to tie or win the game, and he's come up empty. And that's going to happen. But the greats, more times than not, they find a way to make that shot, right? And he just hasn't been able to do that. And, so then, we had the quotes from Gobert earlier, from in the Athletic regarding the last game when he had the monster game where he had 25 rebounds. And he talked about how in that first minute or two of the game, if I'm active, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, but if I'm on my game, he says it's contagious with the other people. So he's sort of kind of saying, and maybe just thinks too highly of himself, I don't know, but he's basically saying, as I go early in the game, so do the Wolves go. And maybe there is truth to that. I don't know. But then why does that sometimes disappear and it's not there and it is? And is it with Gobert? Is it a lack of effort? I don't know. I don't know if all these team players fall into what Mike Malone said. We played the soundbite earlier about how his scouts see the Wolves. They'll scout them 5-7 games out. And he says it looks like they're not even really putting much effort into it. But then when they play us, it's almost as if it's a game 7. And I think that goes back to that idea that teams will play up and down to their competition. If you're playing a really good team that you think is your equal, which I think Denver and Minnesota would feel that way about each other, right? They had 2 battles back-to-back playoffs, right? Wolves got dumped by Denver, I think, 2 years ago. And then last year, or was it last year? Did we get
yes.
Yeah. Last year, we eliminated Denver. And weren't we down 3 games to 2?
3 games to 2. We're down like 20 at halftime in game 7.
And came back and won. And then, of course, we got annihilated by the Mavericks. But so those 2 teams know each other well. There's a bit of a rivalry there, I would guess. And so maybe, but then Malone said his team doesn't seem to get up for the Wolves and really put that old college try together. So, and to me, the solution is just try them all. Just try every game. Don't. But so I don't know what we're going to expect from the Wolves. I do know this. I like Golden State's chances better than I like the Wolves right now. And maybe you know what? And if the Wolves get to the Western Conference Finals again, Tenby, I'll leave town. And I'll admit, April Fool.
Above average at that.
Yeah, you're getting tired of the laugh. You're getting the laugh. You know what? It's what you've done today. You've laughed at it was almost like you were at a Flop, Sweat, and Tears show.
It's the most I've ever laughed.
Yeah, think about it. It's just.
I'm tuckered.
You'll be tuckered. You're side splitting.
I'm like Brock Purdy in the San Francisco 49ers. You hear him say that one?
No.
He thinks the reason they struggled last year is because they've been playing deep into seasons and now they're just fatigued. The last couple of years, yes, he went with that.
He didn't say that, did he?
He did go with that. By the way, the Timberwolves.
Yes.
All of a sudden, they're just a game behind the Memphis Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. The Grizzlies have lost 3 in a row. So both the Clippers, Warriors, Wolves are all within a game of Memphis. Golden State's a half game back. So technically, like the 5 seed is still possible.
Oh, it's there.
The Wolves have 7 games to play. Now, this is a dangerous game to play with the Wolves because they've lost to bad teams multiple times this year. But if you want to go with hey, they should beat these teams. Of their 7 remaining, they got Brooklyn twice, Utah once, and Philadelphia ones, right? 4 of those 7, those should be Wolves victories if they decide to try those games. You had Denver tonight, Milwaukee, and then that Memphis team on April 10th. So the Wolves could easily surpass, we've been kind of paying attention to Golden State and the Clippers, but now Memphis is in sights.
That is correct.
So we have a message to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Objects in your mirror may be closer than they appear.
I would hope that the Wolves would be able to grab that 6th seed. It's there, but they've really given...
I'm thinking 5.
Or 5.
I mean, you might think Golden State's going to get the 5, though.
But they've not given me any real reason because of the inconsistent up and down play to believe they can do it. Does that make sense? Because this isn't the first time there should have been some urgency to the effort. Maybe now it's more urgent because you're down to, what'd you say, was 7 games, 8 games?
7.
7 games. And now that you look at it and say, hey, it's not just avoiding the play-in. We might be able to get a 5 seed and do the 4 against 5, right? But I don't know. I have to see it to believe it. And you know what? If they do, more power to them. I'll jump back on the bandwagon. I reserve that right. I don't believe in the get off and stay off. You have to earn my fandom. I just don't blindly follow a team because they happen to be in the town I'm in. That's what people always say. You've heard me do the restaurant comparison before. New restaurant in town. You go there the first time, food isn't very good. I'll give it a second shot. Second time's not any better, third time is worse. You're going to keep going to that restaurant just because it's the hometown restaurant? No, you're going to stop going. So if the team is still going to not give a concerted effort, pardon the pun, the boy who cried wolf. Yeah, we're going to try harder now. From now on, we're going to come out there and we're really going to try hard. Start to finish. We got to figure out a way to do it, and they never do, but maybe they will. And I will be the first to verbally slap them on the back. I will. It's a little frustrating. It had to... They haven't even gelled yet. I mean, maybe they will gel over the next 7 games. So think about that. I was told it would take 20 games for the team to gel, and here we are, 70-plus games of the season. They still haven't really gelled except for that little 8
game, 1 8 in a row in March,
that 8-game stretch. So let's pause, and when we do, the legendary Mark Rosen, who's a big Wolves fan, he likes this club. He'll join us next here on the Common Man program on The Fan.